wonder. Hey, what's up?
Pretty
How you
good
doing?
song, isn't it?
It's so catchy.
I
Yeah,
really like it.
it means something to me. I love it. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks.
First off, I want to say thank you for watching the Atheist Experience. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the separation of church and state and promotion of positive atheism. So sorry, Anthony. Thank you for joining me. We have Anthony Magnabosco here, a promoter of street epistemology.
Hey, what's up? Good to be here. Yeah, I was just on Talk Heathen, took a little bit of a break, met my family at the pool, and I'm back in the studio at my house. And I'm actually eager to take some calls from some theists because, with the lockdown, I haven't been able to go out and do my normal interviews.
It's also
Not
easier.
that there's a lack of theists to talk to. Believe me, I've been on TikTok and engaging with people on all sorts of different platforms, but this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be easier because you have a list in front of you that you don't have to try to flag people down and
Yes, which, by the way, you were really good at doing when we went out to do SE together.
oh, thanks.
You were good at flagging people down, honestly.
Thank you. Actually, I have a background in kind of promotion, so I think I probably use some of that. But that brings me to introducing that you just posted a street epistemology video that you and I did together. I think it was November that we filmed it.
Yeah.
I went
Early
down
November.
to San Antonio and we went to the college campus and did street epistemology, filmed it, posted it just a couple days ago. And right after that, you came and did a interview with me on my show, Atheist, and that just posted. And then here we are doing street epistemology on the Atheist
Perfect.
Experience. This is awesome.
What a way to end it, honestly. Hopefully it's a good show. I'm sure it will be. But yeah, this is really cool. I love the work that you're doing. Yours is a voice that we need to be hearing. You have such a great natural ability to talk to people, I've noticed. So I'm very excited to be on the show here with you. I've been on with Matt and Tracy, and now I'm on with you, and this is so cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so just so you know, so the callers know you don't have to do strict street epistemology just because you're a representative of it, kind of. I just don't want anybody to think that this is a perfect example of it in case somebody's trying to learn how to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there'll be a mix of all different styles today, I suspect.
I think so. Okay, so we're going to start off with Trudy from Texas.
Hey, Trudy.
You are on the air. It says here that you wanted to talk again about SE and respond to Crystal's call from Talk Heathen. So I think you want to respond to Anthony or something?
Well, yeah, I had listened a little bit of the show prior to this one, right? And so basically I'm a theist and I live with an atheist. This is how I got involved with your show.
Okay. Oh, your atheist friend recommended that you call in or something like that?
No, he was like, hey, Trudy, watch this. And I came in and I was listening to it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to call,
Oh, good. That's great. I'm glad that you called. You wanted to talk about that call specifically?
Well, not just that call specifically, because that call was everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It kind of scattered a little bit.
So what would you like to talk about now?
You want to give a little bit of background?
So
are we going to talk about that call, or was there something different you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I want to talk about the call, but also want to talk about God. It's like the girl on the call, right? Okay. She was saying that, hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. The girl on the call, she was talking about how, she was, didn't believe in God because she couldn't see him, you couldn't hear him, right? She was also talking about evolution, right? And all that other stuff. There was one guy that was talking about the brain and how, the brain connects to this part, to that part, and makes people have a soul or this, that, or other.
Okay,
right?
so I'm so sorry to cut you off. What are we talking about? What are you calling about?
Okay, so what I want to call about it is the fact that, one, I believe in God. It's like, so basically, I was raised in the church, okay? I was raised a missionary Baptist.
Okay. And so you believe in the Christian God?
Yeah, and so, well, I was raised that way in the church, and so when I got old enough to be, to actually tell my mother, you cannot make me go to church anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not doing this, and I ain't going to hell chewing gum. right?
Okay.
Mhm.
So basically, I started rebelling, and I would buy pictures of like the devil, like posters and shit like that. And I named my dog Satan, because I just want to hear my mom say it.
Okay.
And then I became a substance. I became a massive substance abuse user. Okay, and the whole time that I was using substances, God was never a part of anything I did. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so basically, it wasn't like I was like, "Oh God, save me." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I completely pulled away from it. Okay,
Okay.
and so as I was getting, sober, it's like a lot of people say, I hear God. God talks to me.
Mhm.
Blah blah blah. You
We
know what
heard
I
that
mean?
in the last
Like
show.
I never had a burning. So like I never had a burning bush. Okay. It
Okay. So
wasn't
why do
like,
you believe in a God?
oh God, huh?
So why do you believe? We don't. Sorry, this is a short show, so I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about why you
Okay.
didn't. Can we start from where you do believe? You know what I mean?
Right. And you know what? The reason I believe is because, the thing is like, the girl Crystal was saying, well, if there's a God, then why does he let people do what they do?
Mm.
And the thing is, God does not allow people to do what they do. Okay. Not my God. My God is a loving God. My God knows who I am. He knows what I've done. He knows what I've been doing. He knew what I was going to do before I came out of the womb. Okay.
So what does that
So,
mean? He doesn't allow people to do what they do.
well, because a lot of times people, if God existed, why would he let people in the world be the way they are? Why would he let my mother die? Why would he let this happen? Right.
Okay, but those things happen, right?
They do happen, but it's
So
not
is
because
he
God
not
caused
letting them happen?
There's two types of wills, right? There's my will, there's God's
Hold
will.
on. Hold
Okay?
on. Hold on. Answer the question, please. I'm so sorry. So are those things happening?
Not for me. I mean, I hear it.
Well-
I hear like the caller Crystal when she was like, "Why does God let things happen in the world? Why does God let this, happen?"
So
And
you
the
think
thing
so?
is,
You're
God
saying
doesn't
that
let
these
me-
bad things are not happening to you?
Well, no, but I'm struggling just like everybody else, right? I mean, I'm in isolation.
Well,
I
I'm
lost
just
my
really
job.
confused
I'm a
when you say that he doesn't let those things happen. I'm just confused what you mean. If those things do happen, how is that not letting them happen?
Well, I mean, I just believe that I believe that there's good and there's not and not good. Okay, so basically, if I go out and I hurt somebody, then I'm doing it on my will, right? But if I choose to be the best that I can be and to take the action and be as positive as I can be about what's going on, then I'm working in God's will.
I think what's really
Okay.
important when we have conversations with people who call into shows like this, while it's tempting to want to talk about something that we heard or something that prompted us to call, what's really valuable to us is exploring your reasons why you think that it's true. So
Oh,
are we talking about morality, a good and bad? What is your biggest reason for thinking that your God is real? Maybe we can start there.
well, I think it's all based on moral values and integrity, right?
What is that? World
And the
values.
thing is,
Hold on. These are complicated meanings. Did you say world
Mhm.
values?
no morals, like morals,
Okay, I thought you
values,
said world. Okay, so
So you're saying,
morals.
go ahead.
value, and integrity. Okay.
Okay, you're noticing that humans hold these virtues to some high esteem. I'm trying to repeat back. And because there's that stuff out there, that's why you think God is real?
I think God is real because there's things that aren't explainable. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to see God to know that He's there. I can feel Him. When I
Interesting.
when I
Okay.
look in the eyes of a baby, like when I look in the eyes of a baby, I see a miracle. You know what I mean? Because how did that baby get life? Okay, a sperm swam into the little egg, right? And the little egg said, "Hey, I'm glad to see you. Yay! Now we're going to make a baby."
So
But then
can I
how
ask
did
you a
that baby
question,
have life?
Trudy?
Sure.
Have you ever looked into the theory of evolution?
I have with Darwin. Yes,
Right, and so you know how that happened, kind of like
of course.
right? Natural selection and evolution and things grow, right?
Of course, right.
So that's something I
Right,
just
it's
want to
like,
point out. That's something that we see all the time. I'm curious what makes looking into a baby's eyes a miracle.
the fact that they're breathing, that they came out. I believe that God breathes breath.
Okay, so then how
And
do you
it's in
find
all
a
of us.
miracle? What's a miracle?
To me, a miracle is when you can, it's an unexpected thing, like a pregnancy, like a baby being born. Like some women, they try for years and years and years, and they never have a baby.
So wait,
can't
so a
have a baby,
miracle is
right?
simply is an unexpected thing?
Well, you never, unless you're just really trying to, have a baby or whatever. Some people, they try for years to have a baby and they can't. And then you got those that don't even want a baby and they get pregnant.
Is
Well, what's
there
interesting-
ever
There's
a
a reason.
time that you look into a baby's eyes and don't see a miracle?
Never. Never.
So then what makes it a miracle?
Never. The shine in their eyes, the fact that they're so vulnerable and they're so innocent and they're so open and trusting and loving. And
I mean, that
they look to us
sounds
and-
like it's a beautiful thing, but I don't understand how something unexpected has anything to do with how beautiful it is.
Well, it's about the miracle of life. I believe that life
What does
is
that
a miracle,
mean?
right?
So
Okay, to me,
unexpected.
that
So
means
hold on. You said that you define miracle as something that is unexpected, right?
Mhm.
So when you say miracle of life, you're talking about unexpected life? Surprise pregnancies?
Basically, it was an unexpected, pregnancy, right?
So that's the miracle. That's the only time it's a miracle is when it's unexpected, though.
No.
So
I think
then,
I have.
so then if that's
I
not,
think I have a little here to do a launch off, if that's okay.
go for it.
Trudy, you have to realize that Jenna and I, at least when I look at these things, when I see a baby smile, when I see the sparkle in a baby's eyes, or the miracle of birth, when I see these amazing things that are happening, they are amazing. They shake you to your core. It might even be what makes us human when we feel overwhelmed when we notice these beautiful things about our reality. However, we don't, as atheists, I think, tend to go further to say, well, that's good evidence to say that there's a God that did that. What is it about that makes you think that there's a God? Is it that you just can't envision it any other way, or is there something else? What are we lacking? Why are we not finding those events, as miraculous as they are, compelling enough to say, oh, that's a good reason to think a God is real? Why are you going the next step to say that's a good reason for thinking God exists?
I think for me, it's more of the fact that I truly believe that God is the only one that can breathe life into another person. Okay.
Okay.
I
So
don't.
that would make
I mean,
sense
we can take
if that's the model that you're going from, that this couldn't happen any other way from God, that besides God, then I would imagine, yeah, when you see it, you would see it as a confirmation that God is real. However, we need to go back a step now. What makes you think that explanation that God is the cause of that? What brought you to that point? Let's not look at the miraculous, in quotes again, event, but what is making you think that God is the cause of that? Get very basic.
I think it's because
how did that thought get in your mind?
Basic. And I think that came from, because when I was using drugs and alcohol, I literally died twice. The first time I was dead for 4 minutes. The second time I was dead for 10. Why did I come back? You know what I mean?
I'm glad you came back.
Oh, did you say, why did I come back?
Right. Because the doctors kept telling my parents, man, listen, if I bring her back, she's not going to be your daughter. She's going to be brain dead. She's been dead too long.
Okay. So first of all, I'm sorry to hear that you went through that, and I'm glad that you're better now. But did you say something like, why did he bring me back?
Correct. At that point, why did I wake up brain dead? You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't pray
hold
for
on,
God.
hold on.
You hear what I'm saying?
What we're really interested in is how you're concluding that God is the explanation. you're very quick to say, God did that. God is the result of sparkles in baby's eyes. God is the result of me coming back from this horrible ordeal. Tell us about your process for attributing it to that God. We're on board that you think it's true. You got us. You don't need to tell us any more stories. But what we're interested in is
Okay,
how
got
you're
it.
concluding that God is the result of it. Take us through that, please.
Okay. So, as I went into AA and I started, step 3 was one of the hardest things for me, right? And because I already realized I was powerless, right? And then, I came to believe that there was power greater than myself, right? That could have been the group. For me, that's what that was, right?
Is
Secondly,
your view? Hold on. That's good, but I don't want to lose the thought here. Is your view that you're powerless helping you lean more towards thinking God is the solution, or is the reason that this stuff is happening?
I think God created a passion in me. I really believe that, I honestly believe that the reason that I did come back after that second time of dying is because there was something that I needed to do. And I truly believe that you cannot have a testimony without having a test.
Oh,
Okay?
tell me about your test, because you're very good about explaining what you think is happening, but we're really light on how you're concluding that that's really what's happening.
Right. If you'd never heard of a God, how did you know it's a God?
But for me, it's more of like the test versus, like I said, if I've never had a test and I don't have a testimony. So
right, but if you've
when I
never
look
heard
at
of a God, if you'd never heard of a God, how would you know it's a God? How would we know? Because we don't believe in that right now. And so as far as we're concerned, we've never heard of a God. So how would we know when we look into
So
a baby's
basically-
eyes? Why would it change from being something really beautiful and precious to being a God?
Okay. So for me, there's people out there that they make a God, right? They make them out of gold. They make them out of pewter. They make whatever. Okay. And there's also a way to create, for me, I believe that when you create a love in your heart and you're willing to be open, and I'm not saying atheists aren't, okay? Because like I said, my best friend is atheist. I've known him since 93, right? And
Trudy, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. We have a short show. I want to get to a lot more callers. We've already been on this for quite a bit. Okay. We really want to get down to how you know. We know what you think. That's great. It's wonderful. But I'm going to give you one last try. Okay. How did you get to the conclusion? Hold on. Well, this is the question. How did you get to the conclusion that what you're seeing or what you're witnessing and somehow is a God?
Because like when I came back, the doctor told my parents that he said there was no way. I mean, there's no way we could have brought her back. It had to be a miracle.
Okay, that's very, very helpful.
That's good. That's good. So a quick question here. If the doctor hadn't had that conversation with your parents to make that statement that was then repeated to you, or I don't even know when this happened. How old were you when that happened?
Oh, I was already close to my 30s at that point.
Okay. So you've gotten this information back from the doctor, and here's my question though: if that incident didn't happen, or the doctor neglected to mention his opinion of the matter, his view of it, right? Would you be just as sure that your God was real?
Yes, I would.
Why?
Because it's my belief. Well, I think that everybody has something they have to believe in. If we don't have that.
Do you want to believe things that are true? Hold on. Do you want to believe things that are true, Trudy?
Yes, of course. And yes, I do. And I also believe in science. So,
cool. You mentioned earlier, I don't know how much longer you want to go with this, Jen, but just real quick, you mentioned testing and then you mentioned testimony. And I don't know if you were equating those two words or if you saw those as different, because we were asking, how can you show us, how can you demonstrate that your attribution is correct? Then you started talking about either testing or testimony.
Right. So like if you go through I believe that if you don't go through a test, you cannot have your testimony. Okay. So say I was at school one day. I was in college, and I was running down the steps.
We don't. I'm so sorry. We don't. I'm so sorry, Trudy. We do not need another story. I love your stories. They're wonderful. But we really need you to answer some questions before we hear more stories.
Okay.
What do you think a test
So
is?
I believe,
Judy, just
think
really
that-
simple. What do you think a test is? What is a test?
I think that a test it could be going through something that is so horrible or struggling, right? And then coming through it on the other side as an overcomer and being stronger for it.
Okay.
That's what a test means.
And knowing how I got there.
That's your
Remembering
definition
how
of
I
a
got
test.
there.
Okay.
Yes.
That I appreciate your definition. When I think of a test, I think of something that I can perform or watch others perform, observe results, compare to my original hypothesis, and then perhaps even show what a test would look like to show that I was mistaken on something. That's what I think of a test, not an ordeal or an event in my life, but something that humans can perform to see if the desired outcome happened or not. Generally, that's off the top of my head. That's my definition of a test.
Do you agree,
So-
Trudy?
And that's basically what I'm saying
Okay.
without putting it into a specific definition.
Awesome. So she agrees.
Do you understand? Do you understand, however, the difference between a testimony or an ordeal and being able to show something is really the case or not?
Correct. Yes. And that's why I'm saying, Anthony, or what you're saying is exactly right. Because if I go through a test, okay.
He just asked, hold on.
And then
Can you explain the difference between a test and a testimony?
Well, the difference between a test and a testimony is first I have to go through it. Okay.
Through what?
And I have to be
Have to go
I
through
have to
what?
go through it, and I either
Have to go through what?
whatever it is. I have to go through whatever life experience that I go through. Okay,
So-
whether it's life experience,
Okay.
whether
Trudy,
it's
I'm so
something
sorry.
of struggle.
Trudy, I'm gonna move on. Can you please do me a favor? I want you to call back. I'd love for you to call back. You're engaging with me. I really, really, really appreciate that. You're asking questions. That's awesome. You called the show. Great. Can you do me a couple favors? Can you watch this show again and then call back? Okay, because I feel like we've repeated a lot of things in different ways. I think you may benefit from that. But can you also do me a favor and look up the difference between test and testimony? Okay, and then call back. All right. Thank you so much, Trudy.
I got it.
You know, it's funny. I notice
Right.
a lot. I notice a lot of people. This happened when I ran into some Mormons, LDS church missionaries, and we really got hung up on what a test was.
This is not working.
And I do think that a lot of people, especially religious folks, now I don't know if Trudy was actually doing this or not, but they tend to confuse the event that they experienced as the test. That was it. That's how they verified it. I abstained from drinking coffee for 3 weeks. I had a feeling in my bosom, and that was a confirmation that the test worked. We really have to, and I'm really glad that you asked Trudy to research what a test is,
Mhm.
because I think that may have been happening. It seemed like that was the case. Like, well, I experienced it, or this was my observation, or the doctor said this. These are testimonies. These are events that people are experiencing. However, it's really important to verify that that's really what's happening and really is the case. And I think that was probably the biggest disconnect there.
Right.
But yeah, call back, Trudy, when you get a chance.
All right. So now I'd really like to move on to Debbie in New England, and it says it's loading. It says that you actually are you the wonderful person who called and said that your son was in Australia?
That's
Debbie?
me. Hi.
Awesome. So if I
Hello.
remember correctly, your son is in Australia. He was on a retreat to be a Mormon,
He was on a Mormon mission. Yes.
a mission. Okay. And he's back now, and you told him that you called and he's willing to talk with us?
He is. He's here now, and
Cool.
I'm really excited. He's gracious enough to come on and have a conversation. And
Absolutely.
I did
Will this be a
want to
four-way
say,
call, or will you
Jenna-
put him on and then get off the line, or how is this
No,
going to work?
he's here with me. He's here with me. But
Okay.
I did just want to say to Anthony, I watched some of your street epistemology videos, and I do want to thank you so much for your lovely approach, because it really helps somebody like me who tends to be kind of fiery and not very patient maybe learn how to approach something in a more respectful manner. So I thank you very much for that.
You are very welcome.
Anyway, my son Eric is here, and he's ready to talk.
Awesome.
Yes.
Hello,
Hi.
Eric.
Hello.
Tell us about your missionary trip. Were you did it get cut short because of the virus or what?
Yes, unfortunately it was. I was originally supposed to continue to be in Australia for, I guess at this point, 5 months. When I came home, it was 6. I was supposed to come back in October, but then the virus, of course, swept the nations, and we were under the impression that missionaries in Australia, I'm not sure how many are in Australia exactly. There were about 180 where I was living. I was living in Victoria and Tasmania. That's where a lot of the missionaries that I was working with were staying. We were under the impression that Australia was mostly safe. We didn't really get hit that hard. Missionaries were going to be staying. That's the word that we were getting from church leaders. And then next minute, the Australian government basically comes out saying that they're going to be restricting flights, and a lot of neighboring countries like New Zealand and Tonga and Samoa and many other Pacific islands where a lot of the missionaries I was working with came from were closing their borders, even to their own citizens. And so they had to evacuate us, even the Americans. And I ended my missionary service, and now I'm back in the U.S.
And back with your family.
Welcome home.
Yeah, this is interesting. Were you not originally Mormon? You found your way to the church?
That's correct, yes. I joined the church when I was 19. I was raised not a member of any church, really not under any belief system. Yeah, exactly. Not under any belief system at all. Neither of my parents really believed in God. My dad sort of, but neither of my parents went to church. Certainly neither of them did anything like pray or, read the Bible or anything like that. And as I'm sure my mom has shared on the show just a few months ago, I eventually made my way out to Utah to attend university. And of course, that's where I was really exposed to the church, and I ended up joining about a year later.
What was it about the church that made you decide to join it?
Well, that's a question not easily answered with just one thing. There were a lot of things that
Can you try to keep it short?
Yes, I'll try to. I'll get the short version. Absolutely. So, I guess a couple of the things that drew me was one thing that it was a church where the teachings and the doctrines made sense. I thought they were sound. It was a great community of church members to be a part of. It seemed like a decision that was right to do at the time.
Okay. What was it about the teachings that made you think that it made sense?
Well, there were a few things that made sense to me that I thought, I guess, were a lot more fair than a lot of the things that are taught by other churches around the world. And I guess I'll preface anything by saying that I'm not saying that the teachings of other churches are bad. Goodness, no. And that members of other churches are not. Okay, certainly not. There are many millions of amazing people that believe in great things. So I'll preface anything just with that. First of all, I want to eliminate any confusion.
I'm glad that you did, because lots of people will say that their doctrine makes sense to them. I've literally had videos of people from a variety of different faith traditions saying that it just makes sense to me, and that's the reason why they adhere to it. Do you think that's a really good reason for thinking that something is true? Is it good enough for you?
All by itself, no, but it definitely piqued my interest. But
it was enough to get you interested in the church. Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, it made sense to you. It appealed to you possibly. You started studying it more. Did you find something that confirmed to you that it is factually true?
Well, So I'm not really sure how much this will mean. The name of the show is called the Atheist Experience, and this is my first time on here, so I'm not.
You're doing really good, honestly.
Well, it's just the Atheist Experience because we're not religious anymore, and so that what we're doing is we want people to call and tell us what they believe and why, because it's confusing to us now. We're looking back and we're wondering why anybody believes any of this.
Yeah, I should have
Yeah,
not have
absolutely.
assumed that you knew the premise of the show. We would like to ask you questions to challenge why you think that that's true. I hope that that's evident, but if not, we're going to ask some pretty good questions. We want to figure out how you got to this point where you decided to go to Australia to share this news with other people. So you must think that it's true. I think. Tell us how you concluded that it's factually true to the point that you would get on an airplane and fly to Australia and leave your friends and family to spread the word about the Mormon church. Tell us, yeah, how did you get there? I know that it appealed to you and it made sense to you. Did you confirm that it's factually true? Let's start there.
Did I confirm that it's factually true? Well, I guess I should say right from the get-go that, and I'm not saying you specifically, I'm saying anyone listening that is interested in me providing empirical evidence. These are longitudinal case studies and so on and so forth that conclusively prove
No.
DNA, Y.
I'm not looking for that. I don't know about Jenna. I'm not looking for that at all.
Okay.
I'm interested
Okay.
in what convinced you. Don't look at this as what you need to do to convince us or anyone listening or your mom or anything. How did you become convinced that this is factually true?
Yeah, I just wanted to get that premise out of the way that there's no way for me to factually prove the existence of God, for example. I can certainly provide my personal experience. I can certainly provide a lot of evidences that and that sort of thing. But I'll move on to the question. Sorry, I'm probably taking a lot of time. But the thing that convinced me, I guess, was twofold. One of which was like I said at the beginning, it was a church and its teachings that made a lot of sense to me. For example, and I'm not necessarily naming anyone in particular, but generally, many churches out there believe, for example, that there's only one heaven and one hell, and that's it, black and white, end of story. If you die without baptism, you're going to hell. If you died without hearing about God or Jesus Christ, no baptism, you're going immediately to hell. That never sat right with me. That never seemed right morally, intuitively, or even biblically. And when I was learning more about the church and the plan of salvation, providing answers to what happens to these people that didn't have the chance to, say, embrace God or learn about Jesus Christ or even have the opportunity to be baptized, what happens to them? There's merciful answers that happen to these people, and so it's stuff like that. That's just one example. That's good.
Let me interject and repeat it back just real quick. I don't want to cut you off, but I also want to get through this real quick. So it seems to me like you were saying the message that the LDS Church gives, the story, you found appealing. And I asked you, how did you conclude that that's true? And that's one of the things that you told us. There might be more. Do you think that that's a good reason? That a story being appealing to you, maybe it's not so much fire and brimstone, and there's not going to be an end times, and maybe you'll get your own planet, or maybe you'll just cease to exist when you die rather than burn. Does the appeal of a message have anything to do with the truth of the claim?
Perhaps not immediately. I guess the main convincing thing that I guess you
can I ask, hold on, would it later?
How about prior to deciding that
would what later exactly?
You said not immediately.
Yeah, you brought in a time element to it, and so let me just repeat. The question was how did you conclude that this is true? You told us it makes sense to you, but then it was more than that. The message was appealing. I'm talking about how you concluded that it's factually true to the point where you decide to join the church and leave. So why are you introducing a time element to it? I would think that the appeal of a message. What exactly are you saying? Why are you bringing time into this?
Well, I'm sorry, but by my answer, not immediately. It wasn't my intention to bring in a time element. I must have misinterpreted the question.
That's fine.
That was probably an error on my end. But I guess the main thing that convinced me to join was, again,
Well, hold
I'm
on.
not
We
sure
weren't
how
we
much
weren't done with
means
this
to
reason.
perhaps-
I'm so sorry, love. You asked him a question, right? And it was is the appeal, is something being appealing, does that have anything to do with the truth of the claim?
And that should really be time
So
independent, shouldn't it? Like, yeah.
No,
Like,
you're
would something be
absolutely
more
right.
true later just
That
because you
was-
waited?
You're right. I should not have introduced the time element. That was my fault. Please disregard that comment.
Yeah,
Okay.
we will. We won't get hung up on that.
On face, yeah. So on face value, I suppose not. You would not use this, I guess, in a lot of other fields, such as the scientific world. Just because something feels right or it appears to be true doesn't always necessarily make it true. We thought for a long time that the world wasn't composed of atoms, for example, but then we found out that that time and space expanded infinitely. But of course, we learned that there's atoms exist and that there is a non-divisible element that we get to at some point. So not everything, just because it seems true, necessarily is. So you're right there. But does that sort of answer your question? That, or not answer the question, but I'm sorry, clear up the ambiguity there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to create a little bit of ambiguity there.
Basically, you told us that you do not believe that it's a good idea to assume that something is true because it feels right or it's appealing. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
So that's no longer a reason to believe in a God, correct?
Well,
it could be a reason. Is it a good reason?
Right, a good, a logical reason.
Sufficient. Yeah. Do you think that that's a sufficient reason?
If I were to go to someone and tell them what I just told you, that there is no immediate heaven and hell and that sort of thing.
Well, we didn't say that.
Hey, I like the sound of that. I would not say that as an immediate decision to join the church. All by itself, I'm not saying that alone would be a good decision just because something sounds appealing. I would say to
what could be added to it that could make that legitimate reason?
All by itself, I don't think is just because something sounds good, I don't think will be a good reason. But I do think that it should inspire you to look into it further. Essentially,
so
if
that's great.
Is a community that you feel like you could embrace, then what's the harm in looking into it further?
Well, that's a different thing. Asking what's the harm in looking into something is completely different from going with the assumption that it's true. So is there a way that the appeal of something can be necessarily true if you add what to it? What would make that a good reason?
Could you repeat the question?
So we agreed, all three of us, that appeal, a claim to be appealing, does not have anything to do with the legitimacy, whether or not it's true, right? So you said that not, sorry, you said not alone, and so I'm curious, what could you add to it that would make that a good reason to believe? If it doesn't do on its own, what can you add to it?
Along the appeal, what else could you add?
I got you. So I guess it could be a number of things. For one thing, I guess you could. There's lots of, I guess you could say, there's a lot of research being done out there to validate biblical claims. For example, a lot of people that may not necessarily believe in Jesus Christ. Just as one example, lots of people out there may believe he's a fictional person. He simply never existed. I think that's personally a kind of extreme.
You're going in the wrong direction. I'm so sorry. You're talking about appealing to Jesus Christ. We're talking about adding to an appealing claim. So right now, we're not talking about Jesus. Right now, in this second, we're talking about what can you add to appeal to make something true.
Look up evidence. If
so
you're not
evidence and
evidence
appeal. So wait, isn't it appeal evidence?
Evidence and, well, I don't exactly have a checklist that this has to be ticked off in order for something to be confirmed. But
okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm berating you. I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of this because we don't have a whole forever.
Can I jump in? It sounded like you were saying just very quickly there, Eric, that you sort of recognize that just because something makes sense to you, or because it has the message has an appeal, maybe those are the best reasons. And now we're asking you, well, what else do you have? And you were starting to say something about the Bible and Jesus and the stories. So did you verify that those are true? And then that's the reason why you decided to go into the LDS church and become a missionary and do all that? Give us something that we can talk with you about that really is the reason why you think that it's true. You gave a couple of them, and I think we've drawn some lines through those, I think, because I think we're starting to realize that maybe they're not good reasons. What's your best reason for thinking that the Mormon church, the LDS church, has it figured out, that Book of Mormon is really true?
Well, first of all, I guess I could say that I definitely kind of came into this unprepared. I wasn't exactly aware of the premise of the show. The way that described me, it was just well, no. I'm not saying that to berate on you guys. Certainly not. You two have been wonderful and kind and everything. But I was under the impression that this would just be a discussion of how I came to faith and like explaining that and maybe help clear up misconceptions about.
I see.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I thought this was a discussion.
I did not at all understand that I was expected to give factual proof as to why the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the only true church or something like that. I was not expecting that, but
would you be willing to look into it and then getting back to us?
I can certainly give it a shot, but if this is the direction it's going, I'm sorry, I really just don't have a good answer that I can give you guys. I can't give you empirical, factual data that proves that the church is true. I didn't come prepared with that, and I don't think that's something I can.
I'm not. I think I said this once before. I'm personally not looking for that from you. I'm really not. There might be other people who are expecting that, or I guess it would be nice to have if you can demonstrate it factually that's true. But you changed your behavior because I presume you think that it's true, and I'm interested in how you concluded that it's true. What are your best reasons? I'm not asking for proof. I'm asking for your explanation of how you concluded that it's true, and there's a difference.
Right. But if you're not comfortable, we don't want to.
We're not going to force you to talk to us. Absolutely, yeah.
Well,
yeah. If you want
to, I do not feel uncomfortable at all.
Okay.
You two have been very kind and not confrontational in any way, and I do appreciate that. I don't know if you've ever tried teaching Australians about Jesus, but it's certainly full of its hostile experiences.
Okay.
Well, thanks for calling in, and Debbie, thank you for having your son. Thanks for bringing him on. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really hope that both of you can call back at some point.
Yeah, we'll try. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
right,
and welcome home. Okay, so this is just not letting me drop. So
really?
I'm just going to hit
I can
talk
drop them
on the next. Maybe you can try.
Oh, yeah. Let me see. They're gone.
Okay, and I kind of wanted to get to.
That was interesting. Wow.
You want to talk about that for a second?
Maybe just briefly. What's dinner going to be like at that household? I mean, that's just so interesting that the mother would encourage the son to call in a show. And honestly, the way that he was describing it, it's not different than what you do on this show. So I don't feel like he was misled. But
I think he felt pressure or caught off guard. I think it maybe I think I worded a phrase a certain way that I noticed his attitude changed after that. And I think I might have.
Maybe.
I'm not trying to speak for him. He's not here. So sorry.
I'll just blame it on you. It's your fault.
It's probably my fault.
Honestly, I thought it was a good call. Yeah, it was very interesting. And it actually sort of reveals the main reasons why a lot of people think that this is true. I've talked to lots of people and they say, it just makes sense to me. The stories resonate with me. I can sleep better at night because I think that it's true. There's no question. I'm willing to get on board with you with that. It's how can we verify that it's the case? And he's a young person. Hopefully he'll give it some thought, and then maybe he'll come back and give us an update. And maybe check out some of the videos where we've used a version of that engagement with missionaries of the LDS Church. They're on my YouTube channel.
Okay, that'd be awesome. There will probably be a link for the Straight Epistemology channel on YouTube in the link. And I wonder why, just on that note, just to leave that, I wonder why somebody would believe in something that they can't prove. You know,
it makes sense to me, though. I mean, I think we largely do it because coming to grips with the uncertainty can be a problem for a lot of people. It's a lot easier to just say, well, I like the message. It makes me feel good. These people are really nice. My goodness. I could really see a future in this new family of like, I
Right.
get it. I
Right.
get
What's
it.
the harm?
What's the harm?
Yeah,
Or
that it's a logical
there,
fallacy, I found out, but
and
that's
then he
natural.
introduced this time element too, and maybe he did or didn't, but sometimes I think people think, well, it will eventually come to me. All these people are believing it. They can't certainly all be mistaken. So maybe I just need to devote myself and put more time into it, and then I'll eventually come around and figure out what it really is that's backing all of this stuff up. When in reality, it's the very basic cursory stuff that he mentioned at the start.
That's actually why I believed it, was because everybody that I knew did, so they can't all be wrong. That was my reasoning. So we've got Adam in California. So it looks like we've got a situation.
We have
So
a
it says
situation.
here that you are being threatened to be kicked out of the house because of watching Matt.
Ooh, that is a situation. How serious is this threat, Adam?
Well, right now they don't know I'm calling as of this moment.
Okay. Do you need us to not use your name? I mean, it's on YouTube now.
Oh no, that's not my real name. Don't worry.
Okay, that works.
Yeah. It's actually my dad's name, but yeah, I'm sure they won't find this because I'm not calling them that. But sorry. Anyways, I've been watching Atheist Experience videos and Talk Heathen and stuff like that for like the past couple months now, and every now and then my dad will like come in and he's talked to me about it a couple times. And I've grown up in a Christian household where we pray every day for dinner, and they force me to pray, and where we go to church every week. And everybody around me, they experience like the Holy Spirit and stuff, and I don't, and
Right.
I never did. I don't think once. And I've told my parents this, and they think that I'm like crazy. And my friends are all Christian too. They think that I'm stupid, and I don't really know where to go, like further, because they say that if I continue to watch these videos, that like I'm being controlled by Satan, and that I can't be in their lives anymore.
Do you believe this? Do you believe that they're going to follow through with that?
It seems to me like it's a threat. I hope not, but
I hope not too.
They've said it for like
It's a possibility.
months.
It's a possibility. You know, I've got
It
kids.
could be.
I have teenagers, and my daughter is 18 and my son is 16. So like right between your ages. And I guess I could understand, like I'll occasionally walk into my kid's room and I'll knock, see what they're watching on YouTube or something, because I kind of think that's my parental obligation to make sure that
I agree.
I'm not on them all the time. I rarely do this, but occasionally I'll pop in. So I guess I might be a little disturbed if I was to see somebody disparaging my religion, and that was really important to me, and I saw my impressionable young child being exposed to it. So I think I could relate a little bit to their concern. But what have you talked about potential solutions other than the extremes?
Well,
have you floated ideas?
I've tried to talk to them about why I don't believe, and they think that the reason I don't believe is because I'm being controlled by the devil. So nothing I can say it has any light in their eyes.
I don't think that you're necessarily going to be able to change their mind about the reasons that you don't believe anymore. My question is, does this have to be a conversation with them right now?
No.
Do they have to know that you're watching, or is there a way that you could do it in private, or kind of hang?
I could totally stop watching.
Well, the only reason is because I'm concerned, first of all, for your living situation. I think that it's more important that you have a safe place to live than for your parents to know that you're an atheist and why. I would take care of you first and get you safely out of the house, wherever you need to be, whenever you need to be there. And then I would work on letting my family know my beliefs and all that after you're safe. But that's just me.
If you're looking for advice, I guess the advice that I would probably give is address the elephant in the room, as awkward as that might be. And it might, you might just have to wait for the next time they stroll into the room and ask you what you're watching. But maybe just ask them and say, I'm a little worried that you're upset at the content that I'm watching, and you might get so upset to the point where you kick me out. And I don't want that to happen. And I'm probably, when it comes down to it, you probably don't want that to happen either. Hopefully.
No.
What can we do? What arrangement could we come up with? Like, would it make you feel better if maybe I watched these videos when I was in the same room with you, where you can kind of keep an eye on me? So rather than just like cutting me off completely, is there some alternative here? Like, try to negotiate something, because honestly, you're 17. They are your parents. You are in their house. They have a vested interest in your health and longevity. So I can understand where you are at, but I would ask them to see if you guys can come up with some rules, like a framework maybe from which to sort of work within. Do you think that they would be open to that? Like, is it the fact that you're watching it, or would you be okay if I listen to these rather than watch it? Or I'm watching 4 hours a week. Would you be okay if I watch 2 hours a week? You can negotiate it, but you are your own person too. So you have to sort of stand up for yourself, but you need to be flexible. That would be my advice.
All right.
Thank you. That sounds like just what I need to hear.
Well, good. And ultimately, you're going to be the person who knows what to do. We don't know your parents. We don't know your living situation. We don't know any of that. I wish that I could recommend Secular Therapy Project, but I don't know if they necessarily want you to see a secular therapist. I don't know if my family would have let me. So, I mean, if you can call Recovering from Religion, they can offer help. It's recoveringfromreligion.org. If you can access Secular Therapy Project, I would recommend that. That's been helping me. But I hope you're okay, and that, everything works out.
And I can't speak for Secular Therapy Project, but I do know with Recovering from Religion, they have a text function. So you don't have to be on the phone and talking. You could be sitting in the same room as your parents. I'm not suggesting that you be devious and deceptive, but if you had to, you could be in the same room and chatting with an agent about the very issue that you're experiencing.
That's cool.
And a lot of people that reach out to Recovering from Religion are younger. They're right around your age. There's a lot of 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, teenagers calling. And they probably have some really good resources for you too.
Yeah, and while that's being brought up, just for anybody who's watching, if you are an atheist, if you've been through a deconversion or anything like this, and you know what that's like, and you want to help and give back, I know that Recovering from Religion is always in need of volunteers. I know that they need help with people answering phones. I mean, it's serious stuff, and so it's a big job. But if you're wanting to help and give back, that's a good way to do it. Okay, thank you so much, Adam, for calling. Again, I'm going to ask you, Adam. Anthony, to drop it because I can't. And so now we're going to go on to this person. Oh, the person who's questioning dropped.
Questioning what?
Okay. How about Jack in North Carolina? I believe in Jesus Christ. There's no evidence for evolution anywhere in the world. End times predicted something that happened in Israel. Okay, so do you want to talk about that?
There's a lot there. Hey, hi, Jack. What's going on?
You're on with Jenna and Anthony.
I would like to say this first, please. There is one way that you can know if God is real or not, and I would like to say a couple of things first, though. There is one way to know beyond a shadow of doubt. I can tell you all day long that there's a God, and if you don't believe it, you just don't believe it. You look at the facts that's out here from evolution. It's nowhere on planet Earth. If you know where it's at, you need to write a book on it.
Why do you think that it's somewhere?
Well, here's the thing. What you think and what are the facts, and I'm not being rude about this, are two different things.
Right.
There is no evolution. If you understand evolution, if you come from a single cell up to who we are today, where is the evolution that we find in the fossil record without the kidney, without the heart? In other words, if you take your heart
I don't think that
you,
Jack, I don't think you necessarily understand evolution. I am not an expert on it, but I'm going to recommend
you're not an expert.
that.
Let me explain it.
I'm so sorry. I don't really have
maybe
time.
before we get too heated here, why don't we each reveal our level of expertise when it comes to evolution, say on a scale from 1 to 10, where 10 is expert, you've studied this for 30 years, and you teach it in universities or something. Maybe you've written some
let me
papers on
ask
it.
you something. Who is to say that that's an expert?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You're setting a standard that I can't get across because you're blocking me. See, that's the problem.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Wait.
I'm willing to go with you here.
Okay.
Hold
Jack,
on a second,
we
Jack.
want to have a nice, friendly conversation with you. We both
Yeah,
of us
I know.
really want to.
We don't want to mute you or anything. You've raised a good point.
Please.
These are standards that I've just pulled out and I threw them out there, and they're worth discussing. What is your standard?
Okay.
What is your standard of somebody who you would say they've really studied this? They really have a good handle on evolution. What are the parameters of your standard for being able to say that person's an expert and that person is a novice? What is your standard?
All right. Let me say this first. I drive a car. It don't mean I can drive a race car, but I still drive a car and I'm good at it. I can drive it fast. I can put it through curves fast, slide it, drift. There's a lot of things I can do with it, but am I recognized as a professional? No. Am I?
No, but you could be a licensed driver.
Money on different levels. Exactly. Well, I'm a licensed driver.
So who's a licensed evolutionist in this conversation?
All right. Okay. Let me state something. That is a fact. Now,
Hold on, you can state
argue
something
with
that's a
it,
fact
and
if you can prove to us that you have the expertise to
you.
prove to us that it's a fact.
I'm fixing to show it to you. There's
Okay.
Show me where I can find evolution in what museum on planet Earth.
Well, I don't think that it's something that you can pick
it
up
should
and
be
show
there.
somebody.
We're a
Hold on,
complex.
Anthony has a very good point. Jack,
we're getting off
are you
track.
going?
Yeah.
We're going to establish our expertise levels, or we're going to move on.
Yeah.
I'm an expert.
Hold on.
I'm an expert. I'm gonna lay it on you.
I
I'm an
don't know
expert.
that.
Do I have to give you credentials? You don't know that, but all right. Let's go beyond that. Let's have the conversation and prove me wrong. Am I expert or am I not?
My goal is not to prove anybody
I'm gonna
wrong
mute. Hold on a second.
about
I've
anything.
muted the conversation.
That's nice.
Because man, I feel like I'm getting agitated here, and I don't want to get agitated. So I've muted the conversation. So Jack, I apologize, but I muted the conversation. You're still on, and just Jen and I are transmitting. I think it's really important. Like you mentioned, a really good thing about standards, because we want to be able to see how much of an expert we are on this topic. If all three of us come up with some really good standards and we each rank ourselves like in the 1 out of a 10, then maybe we're not the best people for this conversation. And maybe we should give less weight that we're putting on the topic. So before we go any further, maybe we can come up with 2 or 3 standards that you would say, okay, that person is expert or novice. So I'll throw a couple out here. It might be the number of publications in peer-reviewed journals, the amount of time spent in the field practicing evolutionary stuff. I don't know. And then maybe the third one would be the number of hours in a lab or something like that. I don't know. Those are just off the top of my head. There's probably way better standards. What would you say would be your standards for saying this person has expertise in this subject of evolution? And I will unmute you, unless Jenna, you wanted to add anything to it.
Nope, I'm ready.
Okay, unmute.
Oh, okay. Can I state one thing first, please?
We're going to cover what we just said we're going to cover first.
Can we talk about 2 or 3 standards that you would say that person is an expert in evolution?
Okay, I'm an expert. I'm an expert.
Can we establish that?
Hold on. Awesome.
Well,
so that means
I can tell you a lie, but that still don't establish nothing on the phone.
Actually, I think I
can lie to
misunderstood.
you.
I misunderstood. I'm backing. This is you and Anthony right now.
okay. Oh, that's good. If you would self-identify as a 10 on that scale, I'd love to understand your parameters for being able to say that you are an expert. So what are your parameters for saying that?
Study. It's nowhere. Well, here's the thing. Now listen to me.
Can you tell me how long you've studied the topic?
Hold on. Okay, Jack.
God,
This is a call-in show. Jack, hold on.
20 years.
This is
yes,
Jack.
ma'am. Yep.
This is a call-in show where we are the hosts, and we have to control the time, the flow of things. And so what we're
That's
trying to do is
blasphemy.
establish a dialogue. And so if he asks you a question, the standard thing to do is to respond to the question and keep going from there instead of changing the subject.
I gave you an answer. You wanted to know who an expert was. I'm telling you, I'm an expert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I laid the perimeters out for evolution, and I was on the way of doing so, just like the heart, the kidneys, the brain, the blood. See, those are evolutional jumps that you don't find in the fossil record. It's simply
we have not established your expertise
trillions
in any way. And so actually, Anthony, I'm going to ask that you drop this if you can, because I don't think that we're going to get very far.
Of what I've got to offer.
You know what? You can say what you want.
He's dropped. Yeah, that's one of my first questions that I really wanted to ask. And I think anyone listening to this, keep this in mind. Whenever you run into somebody who's very passionate about a specific topic, ask them right away if their confidence in their claim would vary if they found out that that was not a good reason. Is your confidence that Jesus is real dependent on evolution being true or false? Get a hard answer to that. My suspicion, usually is what is the case, is that people will still believe that their gods are real, even when their pet subjects are shown to be not true. So we could probably spend 10 hours arguing with Jack about evolution, and it may not even be why he thinks it's true. It very well might be a factor. And if it is a factor, we can probably establish what he would accept as expertise. And he was very dodgy and all over the place. And here's another learning point. When I find myself getting agitated, that's the key to me to start slowing it down and not getting more and more wrapped around the axle.
That's something that I'm very much trying to work on.
It takes a lot of time. And this format, of course, there's delays and there's two hosts. And we even talked about this a little bit when we sat down in Texas, talking in San Antonio, talking about this stuff. But we can get really wrapped up around topics that have no bearing whatsoever in a person's confidence that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first thing we need to do is establish that this is a factor in his confidence. And it sounds like it might be. If he says that it is, then we can go down this path. But did you notice, like, if I had expertise in a subject, I would say, I studied 20 years at this university, I've written these papers, and here are all the credentials that I would say warrant donning somebody with the title of expert.
Right.
And we got the very opposite. Like, why would you
study?
Yeah. And a little hostility in the mix too. So it's really,
sorry.
Please.
I want to say that from the beginning, he seemed a little bit hostile. And so that's why I was a little bit on guard from the beginning, because the way that I see it is and it's something I've told people on this show before, is that if you're having a conversation with someone and they're being hostile, they're not listening to you. And so I'm not willing to have a conversation on here with somebody who's not going to listen to me. Mm-hmm. I'd rather, call back when you want to calm down. If other people can do it however they want, but I'm here to have a conversation. So.
And Jack did come back with a really good criteria or attribute of expert. I studied this for 20 years. However, what does that mean? What kind of study are we talking about? Did you read one book a year for 20 years and they were all from a particular slant on evolution? Or, what exactly do you mean when you say that you've studied something for 20 years? So
right. You can study the Bible for 20 years and that, doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to go on my caller.
Oh, can you see? You want me to select the callers?
I can actually. Actually, let's go with Jack in London. It says, do you have a distinction between truth and belief, and that you have things that you know to be true and separately things that you believe to be true? So do you want to tell us your definition of truth and belief first, and we can go from there?
Hi guys. Truth is what I normally ascribe to what we experience, and belief is what I ascribe to something that we don't have any evidence for, but have rational arguments for believing them.
Can something be true? Can something be true if you don't experience it?
It can be true if you, for example, if I don't experience the qualifications of a doctor, right? Doesn't mean he's not a doctor, right?
Experience the qualifications. Experience the schooling, you mean?
Yeah, I'm a little confused by your
So
response.
if I don't experience the person's schooling, that doesn't mean he's not a doctor, right?
Could somebody be a doctor
wanted-
could somebody be a doctor whether or not you experience, I don't know, have an interaction with them or something? Yeah. So I thought
that is what I would call a rational belief, right?
It seemed like you were linking experience to the actual truth of the matter when you first gave your definition of truth. What is your definition of truth? Let's start there.
Something that is definition of truth. I have two definitions as a theist, right? So
you have two definitions for truth,
and there's the one. Yeah, so there's the one that's naturalistic, as in what is known to be true and what is believed to be true. So I have a distinction. That's what I wanted to ask you.
Your definition of the word true includes the word true? When something...
No, I can look up. I don't have a formal definition. I can look it up, but I don't have a formal definition.
You wanted to talk about the definitions between the distinctions between truth and belief, and you don't know the definition of truth?
I wanted to ask you, what was your... Do you have a distinction between truth and belief?
Yes. No, so if you want to talk about what I believe, that truth is something you can prove, and belief is something that it's a something that you can hold after you determine that something is true.
I would push back a little bit on that, because I think something could be true even though you can't prove it to be the case.
Yeah.
So my definition of true...
That's true.
My definition of true would be something like that which happens to be the case.
That which happens to be the case.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And how do we know something to be the case? How do we know?
That's a great question.
That's the goal of life, is to figure that out.
You are in the right spot for a question like that, because we love talks like that. We absolutely love it. So a lot of people will go about, let me just answer your question. I know it may have been rhetorical, but a lot of people will go about figuring out the truth in a variety of different ways. Some people will say, I need to experience it. Like, I might think a particular race is lazy, but until I experience it, then I'm not going to take a position on it or something. Maybe that's not the best example. Other people might say, I'll take it on faith that it's true. I can be sure that this is real because I'm taking it on faith that it's the case. So people are arriving at various conclusions and calling it truth. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that it really is true.
So would you regard experience as truth?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would, because I think I can have an experience, if we're on the same definition of an experience. I could probably have an experience and come to a conclusion. Hold on. I can probably have an experience and come to a conclusion that leads me to think something is true when it's not. Do you agree that that's possible?
That's possible, but how do we know something is true if we don't experience it?
Well, that's a separate question. So yes, I think something can be true independent of whether or not we are aware that it's the case. But you're asking a wonderful question. How do we figure out, and you're using the word know, and we're not pushing back too much on that, but know, at least in my mind, implies a level of certainty, a level of confidence, perhaps, that you really have the truth.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if we have the truth, then we know it to be true, right?
Well, this has
been real philosophical.
Humans think we have the truth. And we could think we have the truth and not necessarily have the truth.
We can feel like we have the truth and not have the truth.
I'm just trying to establish how we ground truth. Is it based on experience? What is it based on?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily based on anything.
Let me try it this way. Let's pretend that all the humans on Earth disappeared tomorrow. Would the total number of vehicles that exist on this planet fluctuate in any way? Would that number still be the same, independent of people to experience it?
they wouldn't know because they would have to experience it to come to a conclusion, right?
Would it be factually true that the total number of cars on the planet would be the same as it was the instant before all the humans disappeared?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would, like, again, I said, for me to actually give you an answer on that, I would have to experience the number of cars there are, right? But
there wouldn't be humans around to experience and say, oh yeah, like the number didn't change. So this is sort of a hypothetical that we could probably really never know the answer to with a high degree of certainty. But I think the point here is we're trying to explore whether truth is independent of our personal experience. And
yeah,
I think it's the
truth. Yeah, truth can be independent of our personal experience. But how do we as humans ground truth if it's not by experience?
Well, I think I'm on board with that. We have to be interacting with the world and running tests and talking to other humans and going to doctors occasionally to make sure that our brains are working good, and then looking around us to see with our senses or in other ways what seems to be the case. That is different than what is the case, which was my definition of truth. That's why I was like, that which happens to be the case or something like that. It's a lot different than what seems to be the case. I don't think humans could actually ever know anything for certain.
No, I mean, we can only know something for certain within our own capabilities, right?
Right. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not asking for certainty beyond human capabilities.
No, I want to know why you think there's two different kinds of truth.
I know
natural and something else.
As an atheist, like, I just don't see why there's a problem with believing something to be true. I mean,
because do you want to know why?
Why?
So did you know that I used to be a Catholic?
Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you know why I'm not a Catholic anymore?
Is it because you don't have any evidence for God?
Put succinctly, I guess, yeah. I wanted to look into it. I wanted to find proof. I wanted to know if this was actually true, because I guess at the time, I just defined truth two different ways too, because I wanted actually true instead of just true. But I looked into it and I wanted to hear it from different sources, because if something is really true, you can get it from different places. It doesn't matter that it's coming from this one specific source. You can verify it with other people, there's all kinds of things that you can do. And I figured that if this was the biggest, most important thing on this planet for people, that it wouldn't be so hard to prove that it's true, that I couldn't.
Yeah, I think the problem we're having here is that we're going from believing, because belief is just accepting something to be true without evidence, right?
Not necessarily.
If you're looking for, well, that's the definition.
That might be your definition.
I know that's.
Hold on. Let's just take a step back. Where is all of this going? What's the benefit of this call for people who are watching us hash out these terms of truth and belief and knowledge and confidence?
Yeah, it seems like we're trying to nail down if there can be two different kinds of truth. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah, I think people view truth differently is what I'm trying to say. So I think from an atheist perspective, truth to you would be only what you experience, rather than truth to a believer would be what they experience, and also through rational arguments have true beliefs. That makes sense.
Oh, okay. Well, I can make the distinction that it's true that I believe something is true, but the fact that I believe something is true doesn't mean that that something is true. Are you on board with that?
Okay. Yeah, yes, I totally agree with what you're saying, but that doesn't also mean that what they believe is irrational. So the argument for believing is not what is true; it's what is rational.
Okay. Do you want to know why I think it's irrational?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so if it was true, and if it was the most important fact on that we worship this God on the planet, then I should be able to verify it somehow. and I couldn't.
But if God, yeah, I know. But if God doesn't want you, because if God wasn't, if we could verify God, if we could see God, then there wouldn't be any point in us thinking, right? Because what would be the point in thinking? We could just ask God everything.
No. Can you say that again, please?
If we could experience God, if we had evidence for God and talk to God directly, there wouldn't be any point in us reflecting or thinking.
So do you have to have a point to reflect or think?
What is the point? Are you saying that it's better to believe when you can't verify it to be the case?
No, I'm saying that it wouldn't make sense if we had evidence for God in our presence, because there wouldn't be any reason for us to even think, because we would just ask God everything, right?
I see. I think what you're saying is, if we came to know that God was factually real, there would be
no wonder. Is that what you're saying?
Humans would be lacking. Like, humans are actually better because we don't know for sure that God is real.
Life would be meaningless, kind of thing, right?
Reflecting on our life and reflecting and seeking knowledge would be pointless, because we would just be able to ask God for everything.
Oh, okay. But you're assuming, you're assuming that this revealed God would be willing to engage with us to answer all the questions that we are asking it. I mean, it could just decide that it's fine with us knowing that it's real, but it just doesn't want to intervene or engage with us, and just want to see us try to figure things out on our own. You're sort of assuming that this God would be willing to give us all the knowledge after he reveals himself, be willing to give us all the knowledge that we seek.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical. What I'm trying to say is that life wouldn't make sense, right? Because I wouldn't need to think if I could just go to a source and try and get the information from that source.
Wait. I got a question. Hold on. So are you saying that because if there wasn't a God, no, I'm really confused. Why you think that if you had to go to a source, if you could go to a source that could solve all of your problems, and we don't, somehow that proves that there's a source that can solve all of our problems? What do you think a God is? I want to know what do you think a God is?
God is a being that created everything.
Do you think that it's omniscient?
Does it know everything?
I believe so.
Okay. Does it know that I don't believe in it?
Yes.
And does it care?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it going to do about that?
Well, if you reject it, then the person will be punished, right?
No, I asked what it's going to do about that.
This is one hell of a God. Like, if
hold on. I want to know what it's going to do about that real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What to do about your rejection?
Yes. What is your God going to do about my disbelief, my lack of belief that I tried to prove and couldn't? And so I said, okay, well, I can't believe that. What is your God going to do about that?
He's going to put people in the hellfire for that.
It's going to put me in hellfire for that?
For rejecting, yes.
So why would I want, okay, actually it has nothing to do with whether I want to. I'm derailing this, Anthony.
Well,
because it has nothing to do with whether I want to believe in it.
So I don't know if this is actually Jack's position or if he's raising a hypothetical just to explore it, just so we can sort of hash things out. I'm not exactly sure. What would you hope to get from this call? Like, what would lead you to say, like, at the end of this call, that was really productive, they came around on this, or I now have a better understanding of this? What are you hoping to achieve from this topic? I think it's an interesting topic. I'm just not exactly seeing where it's going, because it seems like it's dependent on, now it sounds like it's dependent on a God that's revealed himself, but and is willing to engage with us to tell us everything. But if that happens, then we lose all of our meaning and purpose, and there's no reason to be a human, I suppose. Like, fundamentally, what is the purpose of this line of questioning?
Okay, so the purpose of this line yeah, so the purpose of the line of questioning would be that if truth is experienced and what is known, then belief or disbelief becomes irrelevant, hence making atheism void, right? There's no need to call yourself atheist because that deals with a lack of belief. Whereas
Right, because I have a lack of belief.
knowledge. Yeah? So
This is really
belief
hard.
or disbelief becomes irrelevant, right? Belief or disbelief becomes irrelevant.
I'm actually struggling to
Because
kind of
you're not
follow the
going
train of thought, honestly.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Jack.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sorry,
we're gonna
Jack.
hang up and move on because the way that I see it is if there's anything to believe in, then it should not be this hard to figure that out.
Dropping.
So we're gonna go on to.
It's an interesting topic. I love exploring those things.
Absolutely, belief and truth and all that philosophical
But
discussion is
there was
awesome,
there seemed to be a huge leap at the end there that humans suddenly lose all their meaning and purpose if they had assuming that there was an entity that knows everything and it was willing to engage with us and be accessible to answer all of our questions, that that suddenly would be problematic for humans or something. I'm not exactly sure why.
Yeah, I'm really sorry if that was probably completely my fault that it didn't go very well.
No, I thought it was an interesting talk.
Yeah. Dean, welcome back. It says here that you want to talk about. Hey, it says here you want to talk about street epistemology, strength and weaknesses.
My favorite topic.
I do.
What's up, Dean?
Hey, what's going on, Anthony? So I guess my question would be, what do you think the strengths of street epistemology are, and what do you think the weaknesses of street epistemology are? Does street epistemology have any weaknesses?
It has weaknesses and strengths. For those that aren't aware what street epistemology is, it's where you ask questions to challenge people's claims, regardless of where you or they stand on it, to see if their confidence is warranted and they have a way of validating the quality of their reasons. That's it in a nutshell. Strengths, I think, would probably be the versatility of it. You can use it for pretty much any topic. You don't have to be an atheist using it with a theist. You can be a theist using it with an atheist, or you can use it on all types of claims. I even posted something on my Twitter where I was pushing back using street epistemology on somebody who was against vaccines. So you can use it for that. So that's probably the biggest strength, is that every human being can learn it and use it. It's not just an atheist thing. And there are probably other strengths too that I can get into. But as far as a weakness, yeah, that's a strength too. You can apply it on yourself. Thank you. And I recommend that you do. A weakness of the approach could be you need at least two willing participants. So if somebody's not willing, they can back out of the conversation. They may feel threatened by the direction that your questions may be going, and that can be an uncomfortable feeling. And somebody might actually cease talking to you because you've made them uncomfortable and challenging a core belief. So that could be a possible weakness of it. Although you could possibly view that as a strength too. It's probably better face-to-face rather than written or over Twitter, something like that. So the venue that you're in, and if it's face-to-face or over video, probably gives it certain advantages. What's another weekness? I want to focus on the weaknesses.
Maybe the amount of time that it takes. It's pretty slow.
It takes time. Oh yeah, it totally takes time, and your ego getting in the way can get in the way of actual progress. So looking at it as like crushing your opponent and knocking them down, that doesn't usually work. If you're approaching the dialogue with that mindset, you probably won't be very effective at it. You need to try to set aside your ego for the purpose of the exploration of the reasons and methods they use to conclude that my confidence is justified. And I could probably name 5 more of each side of those.
Yeah. So I guess my question is more along the lines.
Sorry, Danny, can't hear you. Can you turn your volume up?
Yeah, your volume just dropped.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're good.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
You hear me now? Okay, cool. So I guess one of the questions I have, or a couple of questions I have, is about methodology of street epistemology. And I think that I would have two questions along that line. And my first question would be,
We've only got 5 minutes left, just a heads up.
sorry, gotcha. So
Okay.
what is there's this confidence level that's placed or asked of the interlocutor. And I guess my question would be, how do you demonstrate, or what's the demonstrable difference between someone who's like 90% confident in what they believe and someone who's 89% confident? How do you determine?
I'm like asking this question. I've heard you ask this question before. What answer do you need to hear before you'll be said?
Well, I haven't.
You haven't asked it to me.
Well, I haven't asked you. I haven't asked you that question.
Okay, so
I guess my question is the nature of it. Just seems like it's a arbitrary.
It is
number to gauge the type of person that you're going to encounter.
Can I try?
It's not really.
That is part of it. No, okay. So I think what Dean's alluding to, and correct me if this isn't it, but oftentimes in street epistemology engagements, we'll ask a person how certain they are that something is true, usually on a scale from 1 to 10 or 0 to 100 or something like that, 0 to 10. And a person will give a number, and then we'll use that usually as a starting point to engage in Socratic questioning to see what's propping that up. And my questions probably wouldn't change too much if somebody said I'm 90% sure or if I'm 80% sure. And the actions that they take when they're interacting through reality and going to the grocery store or deciding who to vote for probably don't fluctuate too much. Like if we get too granular with the numbers, like if I say I'm 81% sure, will I still vote for the candidate if I was 80% sure rather than 81? Probably. I'll probably still vote for the same candidate, but maybe I won't like a comment on a post on Facebook because of that small difference. So I think we could, just like we can carve those numbers up, we can probably carve up the actual actions that humans take because of those degrees of confidence. But please don't get too wrapped up in numbers. These are simply guidelines and starting points and subjective, self-reported gauges of where a person is. And it can be useful for a starting point and also to get a sense of, well, where are they now? It's been 2 years since we've had that talk. Are you more confident? Are you just the same? Are you less? Did you fluctuate? And it's an attempt to try to quantify something that may never be able to be quantified. So at the very start, it's somewhat incomplete, but I still find it useful. I've never regretted asking a person their level of confidence, but I've always regretted, or maybe I should say, I've often regretted not having asked it, because I'll have a 10-minute talk and it seems like they've moved, or I'll talk with them 2 weeks later and it seems like they've moved. So it's just a nice little gauge, I suppose, to see where a person is at, but I wouldn't put too much weight in it, and it's not required. Some people don't even like to quantify their level of confidence, and that's fine too.
Sure. So if I can ask one more.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jenna.
No, I was going to ask what's the next question.
Yeah. So my next question, I guess, would be regarding methodology. What do you think that it would take for you, Anthony, and for you, Jenna, since you're now a street epistemologist expert, since you've been
not an expert.
What would it need to be shown? What would need to be shown for you to say, okay, this is bad methodology as far as trying to navigate or understand the confidence level or the ability to discover truth through this methodology? I've never asked that question.
What would it take to basically disprove street epistemology, just for lack of better terminology?
Or just, yeah, sure. Just to say this is bad methodology to try and discover truth.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll answer that if you're okay with that, Jen. This may be somewhat controversial. I don't think SE, I think, could be useful for helping us hone in on what actually is true. But it seems like it's more useful in determining if a person's level of confidence that something is true is justified. Does that make sense? Because I could be really, really confident something is true and find out that I have really poor reasons and an unreliable epistemology, an unreliable method, and it still really be factually true. So I could be backing
Yeah.
off of my certainty because I have poor reasons and a poor method in something that really is factually the case. That actually I might throw that under a con of street epistemology, a weakness, is that we could be, in fact,
Someone
I
could
have
be confident, but they could still be true.
listen, I had a conversation with a woman. I might actually upload it, where she was out asking people to vote. She was encouraging college students to vote. We talked for 10 minutes, and by the end of it, she was thinking that it probably wasn't a good idea to vote. That can happen. So that is a weakness of the approach. It could possibly be moving us away from the truth. However, it seems like it's moving us towards it. But there's value in adjusting our confidence to the reasons and methods that we have, independent of whether something is really factually true or not, I think. Because we can be really, really confident in something that's not true. On the flip side, we can be
Right.
really, really confident that something is true when in fact it really is true. Or we could be have a very low degree of confidence something that's really the case. So, however, here's my thinking. The more people that we have learning this, like you, Dean, I understand you're a Christian and you've been following street epistemology. I would love to see you do this to help us figure out, not only is our confidence justified, but are we in fact honing in on the truth? I think by evaluating our levels of confidence for a variety of different people, like lots of people, might actually help us close in on the actual truth of the matter. So I think confidence is a way to get to the truth, sort of, but I don't know of any other way. So that's sort of a long way of just saying, I think that there's value in using street epistemology because I could back off of my certainty on something that I can't justify, but it doesn't mean that that thing isn't true or untrue. And we probably agree with that.
Okay.
I don't know. Where do we stand on that?
You know, from the offset, I think that you're correct. I think that one of the weaknesses could be that I'm messing with somebody's, confidence, but just because I mess with somebody's confidence doesn't mean that I've undermined the truth of the beliefs that they might hold. It just means that I've messed with their confidence about that belief. They might not have the adequate epistemological foundation to defend it, but just because they don't have the epistemological foundation to defend it in that moment doesn't mean that belief isn't warranted, right?
Exactly. And hopefully at the end of a friendly interrogation where somebody's using this approach or some other approach, that the end result will be the person being humble about what they can claim to be the case and figure out how to actually improve your confidence and maybe drive more to the truth. So I think we're all in the same boat, but the problem that we're having today is overconfidence in claims. That is largely, I think, where we're at. But I think by fixing that, by improving the way that we're going about arriving at our degrees of confidence, we may very well be honing in on what actually is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So last question, if I can sneak it in, and then the time is yours if you can fit one more, if that's okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't believe that we're closing in on like 6 o'clock here. I didn't realize. Did we spend that much time on that truth belief guy? Maybe
we spent a good amount of time on each call, but you're a street epistemologist, and we're trying to I guess we ended up just taking it a little slower today, which is going to happen. So
the last question that I have is this. My worry, and maybe you can alleviate the worry, Anthony, is that street epistemology, as far as its methodology, it seems, I'm not saying that it seems from my vantage point that one of the dangers there in street epistemology is it's simply a infinite regress of questions to a person until they get to the point where they say, I don't know. And then it's, okay, boom, this is the point where, your confidence has to be impacted, whether that's significantly or not. It almost seems like it's promoting the only way that you could have a epistemological foundation that is correct is that it's some sort of Cartesian certainty with regards to what you believe. Now, is that correct? Is that not correct? Am I just out on
If
a
you're
cliff by myself with that?
I don't know. Let me repeat back what I think I'm hearing. It sounds like what you're saying is that street epistemology promotes uncertainty, that it sort of glorifies it maybe, or
well, I wouldn't say uncertainty. I'm saying
oh, really? Because I was going to agree to that, because I think street epistemology does revel in uncertainty. We see value in uncertainty because we could lower our confidence to the point where we may be willing to take on other explanations and other thoughts. So I'm sorry if I missed you there.
From the same side of a or two different sides of the same coin. I would say it seems like that street epistemology promotes a type of Cartesian certainty, right? Where unless you have 100% certainty in your epistemology with regards to what you believe, then you should probably strongly consider giving that up. Is that the level of certainty that street epistemology is promoting, the Cartesian certainty?
Let me just preface this, that even though I am a practitioner of street epistemology and one of the founders of Street Epistemology International, and I don't dictate what street epistemology is. So I should have probably couched that very, very early on in this conversation.
Okay.
I think street epistemology I think is about moving people off of certainty just a tad, because I think that's where the harm can come in, because when you think that you figured it all out, that's where really, really malinformed actions can take place. So I think I might be on board with you that we might look at 100% confidence, or when somebody says, like an earlier caller, maybe it was on Talk Ethan, I know that this God is real. Do you really actually know it? Helping somebody recognize that they don't factually know it to be the case, I think is valuable. And I think that probably is not only a strength of street epistemology, but perhaps even a goal of it. Yeah. I think I'm on board with that. But it's probably a little bit more nuanced, and we could probably get into it further.
Well, thank you, Dean, for calling. We're going to have to close this up, but just real quick, I want to add that when I use street epistemology, I use it to find out how people know that what they know. A little bit less about using the goal of discovering confidence levels, which is perfect. But I'm more interested in, okay, how did you find that out? You know, it's for me, it's more about the questions. And so when you ask about like what could the harm be, I don't see how asking questions truly could have a harm, because I think the more questions you ask, the better. Anthony, am I wrong?
Well, the harm could be pulling somebody away from a true claim. Just because
what's wrong with pulling somebody away from a true claim? Because the way I see it, you can't be 100% certain about anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can't be certain about it. But if we actually were believing something was factually true and then realized that our reasons and methods were lacking, we could decrease our confidence in something that really was factually the case.
But then at that point, couldn't you go and find a better way to find out that it's true?
If you keep pursuing it, but you could be humiliated in the process of realizing, gosh, I looked like an idiot when I was explaining all my reasons for thinking Jesus was real. That could, and I could see why that might be a concern of people who think these gods are real, and they see these very short conversations that just chew through reasons and methods like nobody's business. And I could see why people would be threatened by that, because they think that they have the truth and they see people struggling to justify it.
All right, Dean, is that all that you wanted to talk about today? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all I've got. It's been as always, Jenna, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Anthony, it's a pleasure to talk to you too, sir, for the first time on Atheist Experience. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
Thanks.
Thank you, see ya. I just dropped it.
Okay. Do you want to stay for one last call really quick? Because I have the crew is really curious to hear from Raul in Harlan.
Raul and Harlingen. I can annihilate the Big Bang Theory.
Do you want to stay on for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just reading it. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, awesome. Sorry.
I can annihilate the Big Bang Theory, and I have proof that there is a God. This is all uppercase too. Can you answer who made the Big and Little Dippers? This is the call. This is the call they wanted us to take, huh? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
What is
what's
your
going
first
on,
name?
Raul?
Oh, Raul. Okay. What's
Oh,
up,
wait.
Raul? Is it Raul? Or I got
Did I
AC.
drop him?
I think you did. Oh no,
Oh,
he's
no,
back.
no, he's there. He's there.
Okay, there he is. Raul, what's up? Can you hear us, Raul?
He's not.
He might be muted.
It says he's in.
Oh, he's.
I'm so sorry, y'all. Okay, well, I don't think we're gonna get to Raul today.
Oh, that's too bad. Call back next time, Raul.
I'm
Or
so
hit
sorry
me
about
up.
that, Raul. It's a little bit late, so we're gonna have to talk next time. Thank you so much, Anthony, for coming on, for teaching me and others about street epistemology.
My
For
pleasure,
your
Jenna.
patient approach.
Hey, yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I love the show. I love the ACA. I love the work that you do. You're a natural at it. And I'm excited to see where you take this thing, whatever this thing is we're building. And I think you're reaching a lot of people. I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you. And it's because of you. I'm following you and the ACA. And I just love the ACA here. This is a wonderful community where we all support each other. We're all promoting each other's stuff. And I think it's so great.
Absolutely.
I can't wait till we can all go back.
I know. It would have been nice to do this from the studio. I was a little kind of disappointed to have to run it. But hey, the crew.
Thank you, crew.
Yeah. How about that?
Thank you for doing all this hard work for us. Man,
Thank you, crew.
They're putting up with me. I've been a pain today. So
this show could not happen with those kind folks right there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good one.
Bye-bye.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.